Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back, I know, surprise, to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. I was intending to do a sea power video today, but after a mammoth 8-hour gaming session, I didn't really have what I wanted for a sea power video. Not that there was anything wrong with the game, it's just the scenario I was trying was really hard. So I do intend to do a sea power video this week, but for today, it's an emergency World of Warships video. Now, if you're looking at this thing and thinking, well, that looks a bit like an Admiral-class battleship, like the Nelson or the Rodney, well, congratulations. It does look like one, but it isn't. This is HMS Defence. It's actually a cruiser, although it's a cruiser armed with really big guns. 356mm, 14-inch guns. It does only have 6 of them, however, but it's got that sort of Admiral-class battleship turret layout with all 3 of them in the front. A pretty ship it is not, but it was never designed to win beauty contests. Well, actually, it was never designed at all. This is a completely hypothetical design. It's being sailed for us today by Redeemer 495, who is a former US Marine. You can tell by the crayon stains around his lips. Steady on, Marine. Anyway. Bit of inter-service rivalry out of the way there. Let's crack on. So, yeah, HMS Defence. Well, it seems appropriate to first talk about her defences. She has a pretty beefy health pool for a cruiser. 60,000 hit points, not bad. As far as her armour's concerned, it's also not bad, but not great. Her 40mm deck and 30mm belt plating mean that she is at least immune to being overmatched by battleship caliber 16-inch armour piercing. Let's not get too excited though, that's immune to overmatch, not immune to penetration. Big difference. Overmatch just means that the caliber of your armour piercing shell is sufficiently large that it doesn't bother doing a ricochet check when it hits armour at any angle. Instead, it gets a regular penetration check, and believe you me, 16-inch armour piercing can definitely penetrate the armour of HMS Defence. Also, and again this is filed under the not great news category, when a cruiser is set on fire, unless you use the damage control, the fire will burn for 30 seconds. When a battleship gets set on fire, unless you use the damage control, the fire will burn for 60 seconds. Guess how long a fire lasts when HMS Defence is set on fire? I'll give you a hint. It isn't 30 seconds, so that's not good. However, while this old girl is not particularly good at taking it, she is rather good at dishing it out. It's all down to those 14-inch guns. She does only have 6 of them, in 3 double turrets, all mounted forward, but they only have an 18-second reload, and they are exceptionally accurate. She does actually get cruiser accuracy rather than battle cruiser or battleship accuracy. To all intents and purposes, these are the same guns that you get on the battleship HMS Duke of York, which means they have excellent high explosive alpha damage, good chance of setting a target on fire, and the armour piercing shells come with short fuses, which means they're more suited for beating up enemy cruisers at medium to long range, but are pretty effective against enemy battleships at medium to short range. And as you can see, as Redeemer deploys it here, since she is, at the end of the day, a British cruiser, she gets the long duration but short range British Cruiser Hydro, and the short duration but multiple charges British Burst Smoke Generator. However, remember, smoke screens don't make you invisible. If you fire your guns while you're inside a smoke screen, you attract the smoke firing penalty. And the larger the caliber of your guns, the further away you'll be seen if you're firing from within smoke. And these are 14-inch guns, so keep your distance or cease fire if you're shooting at something from within one of these smoke screens. Redeemer here about to get caught out as he fires a fraction of the second before the smoke dissipates. And of course, when you fire the guns, your visibility range blooms to the maximum range of your guns for a few seconds. And unfortunately for him, that was just long enough to get him spotted, and is now attracting some return fire, which is most unwelcome. And the Vermont's 18-inch armour piercing shells can absolutely overmatch the Defence's armour. But Redeemer, anticipating that the Vermont was going to be a bit upset after being set on fire, was already manoeuvring and has managed to avoid them. And there's the smoke generator back up again. Very short cooldown, very short duration, large number of charges. And the Vermont is now probably seriously regretting his earlier hasty decision to waste his damage control on a single fire, because now he's on fire again. He's gone undetected though, so maybe using the... No, he's firing his guns, so he's... Yeah, okay, fine. He's just given Redeemer an opportunity to make that a double fire, so shots out. He does only have an 18-second reload, remember, so with the duration of this... I mean, it is a short duration smoke, but it's going to last long enough for him to try again if the first salvo doesn't set another fire. Shots out again. Go on, fingers crossed. The first fire is probably about to expire, and the smoke screen has certainly expired, so that's his last chance. And again, no fire. However, the Vermont has just fired his guns, and he does have a 40-second reload, which means Redeemer, if this doesn't set a fire, and it does, but he's going to have the opportunity to fire again before the Vermont can reload and retarget him. Or he can just hold his fire, and by the time the Vermont has reloaded, he will have gone undetected. Oh, and now he's air spotted. Well, you're spotted anyway, so it doesn't hurt. Shots out at the Zeton. Oh crap. The collision with the North Carolina could swing his broadside around to face the Vermont, who could be reloading soon. Oh, on the bright side though, the hits on the Zeton set a fire that sank him. That's his team's first kill, by the way. The scores are reversed, very typical in a World of Warships replay. His team are down 2 kills to 1. They do not have a single cap circle, and the enemy team are almost 200 points ahead. Fortunately for Redeemer, the Vermont over there looked like he wasn't too interested in getting set on fire again and has taken his business elsewhere, allowing Redeemer to get some shots out at the Yumihari over there. High explosive again, but the Yumihari just got bitch slapped by somebody's armor piercing. It certainly wasn't Redeemer's. Oh, and he's gone. There's his team's second kill. So the kills are at least even if the caps and the scores are not. And then, of course, in a classic example of the Jingles effect, the second I open my big fat mouth, the enemy USS Salmon torpedoes and sinks the friendly Prozarski, so they're once again 1 kill behind. And whoever it was who was peppering him with high explosive from the safety and comfort of that smoke screen, there he is. And Mikhail Kutuzov, it's a very, very good ship. And even though he switched to the armor piercing, I don't think he's actually going to get the shot before the Kutuzov escapes into cover. Oh well, never mind. Still, not shooting, at least ensured that he didn't get spotted by anybody. The same cannot be said of the friendly Alabama, who just got himself sunk by the enemy Montana, putting the enemy team 2 kills, 1 cap circle, and 300 points ahead. And then the 14-inch armor-piercing salvo that Redeemer squeezed off at the last second at the Kutuzov hits him after all, finishing off his remaining 3,300 hit points and scoring his team's 3rd kill. So that's the good news. I mean, it's not great news. The team is still behind. The bad news is, here's that Vermont again. And he has seen you. Although he is in the middle of a turn. And it looks like he's got other problems right now. Redeemer switches back to the high explosive, because we all know how much this Vermont enjoys being set on fire. And as he squeezes the shots out, the team suffers a further 2 casualties, with the Kansas and the North Carolina going down. Amusingly, the North Carolina succumbing to a fire set by the Kutuzov that Redeemer just sank. So the Kutuzov earns himself a flesh wound award. The enemy team are now 400 points and 3 kills ahead, and still the only team with an actual cap circle. Caught in a very embarrassing 3-way, although that shouldn't be anything unusual for a US Marine, between the very upset Vermont and the USS Tennessee over there. Redeemer very, very wisely decides it's time to pop his heel and expend another charge of the smoke generator. And the Tennessee is almost certainly too close for him to be able to fire the guns without being spotted. But he does have torpedoes, and of course you can ripple fire them because this is a British cruiser. So if one of them hits, they're all going to hit. Of course, the other side of that is that if you dodge one of them, you've dodged all of them. And these are not the fastest torpedoes in the world, and they were launched from slightly less than 10 kilometers away. So all the Tennessee has to do is move left or right and will dodge all of the torpedoes. But he's a battleship heading towards a smokescreen, so of course he sails in a straight line. And the Tennessee was today years old when he found out the hard way that HMS Defence has torpedoes. Perfectly timed as well, because the smokescreen had just dissipated and the Tennessee was about to spot him. Redeemer is now responsible for 75% of his team's kills, with only the friendly Wisconsin successfully managing to sink anything else. This is, however, not great news, because they're still 2 kills and 400 points behind, and while the rest of the team are at least trying to wrest Cap Circle Charlie from the enemy team's control, it's not going to make the slightest bit of difference because the enemy team have just flipped the cap at Alpha instead. With not a lot better to do at the moment, Redeemer unloads some torpedoes from the starboard side. These torpedoes aren't bad, you know. I mean, they're definitely not slow, 67 knots. 10 kilometer range, which means they're primarily self-defense torpedoes, but they do pack a hefty punch with like more than 20,000 damage per hit. Minus the target's torpedo damage reduction, of course. Decent hit on the Shimakaze there. Some lollyboat cheeks getting clapped, and I think he's actually going to get to do it again. He did set him on fire. Of course, fires on destroyers, I mean, they burn for such little damage and they're out so fast. A destroyer is rarely going to use its damage control on a fire unless the hit that set the fire has also knocked out his engine or his steering. There may be Shimakaze torpedo. Oh, hang on a second. Oh, Harlem airstrike. Oh, and you're stationary. Oh, they all missed. Yeah, you probably don't want to be lurking around inside that smoke screen, though, because the Shimakaze did spot you as he popped out. But while I'm sure Redeemer would love nothing more than to get into that cap circle at Bravo right in front of him, he would be sailing into open water in the middle of a crossfire. More shots out at the Shimakaze. Well, them lollyboat cheeks ain't going to clap themselves, are they? Oh, and he hit him again. He knocked something out, too. The friendly Colombo over there just... Oh, that was a sonar ping. Oh, great. It's the enemy salmon, isn't it? Well, anyway, the friendly Colombo just managed to survive a ram on the enemy Salem. So he's almost certainly running a ramming flag. And while that has put the team, well, not ahead, they're still 3 kills behind, it looks like our friend the Vermont, yes, he's on fire again, is trying to do the same thing with the Christopher Colombo. But swinging around in an attempt to trigger the collision like that just meant giving broadside to the Wisconsin, who manages to claim his second kill. And oh, great, here comes the Harlem's airstrike again. And are they going to miss? They've missed again. The Harlem doesn't seem to be very good at that, does he? That's probably why he's practicing. Well, anyway, they are still 2 cap circles, 2 kills, and 500 points behind. And, oh, hello. Seattle. That's a nice crunchy broadside you've got there. Seattle regretting his life choices in 3, 2, 1. There it is. Oh, it's a sonar ping. It's that sneaky salmon coming around the other side. Well, Redeemer triggers the damage control. There it is. There's the homing torpedoes. There's the second sonar ping. Too early. Hit him while the damage control was still active. Torpedoes lose their track. Hit nothing. Suck on some depth charges, you sneaky submarine bastard. Didn't kill him, though. Oh well, never mind. Well, good news. It's not much. I mean, they still don't have any caps, but the Colombo, probably about to be assisted by the Wisconsin, is now flipping the cap at... Oh, shit, that's a Montana. Redeemer clearly thinking here, I don't want to go out in front of a Montana, but there's a salmon behind me. And then realising that actually it's kind of safe because the Montana's 2 islands away, but he dumps the depth charges anyway, pops the hydro just in case the salmon's trying to be double extra super sneaky and come around the other side, but, well, he wasn't. And there's the Kraken unleashed. And now the enemy team are only 400 points ahead again, but at least the kills are even. Sadly, despite trying his hardest, the Christopher Colombo is having absolutely no luck, despite being assisted by the Wisconsin and flipping that cap at Charlie because, well, you know, battleships, big obvious targets, they keep getting reset. Which is probably not great news for the Christopher Colombo because he certainly didn't enter that cap circle with a lot of hit points intact after ramming and sinking the Salem. And with the enemy team about to reach 700 points, Redeemer is in a very, very tricky situation here because, one, he wants to take this central cap, but he needs to do it without getting spotted and reset and or sunk. which is going to be easier said than done. But he also needs to sink enemy ships. And there's a very, very big juicy aircraft carrier right there. Can he get the shots out without being spotted? Oh, he's spotted. Okay, well that answers that question. No, he can't. But he has wisely tucked himself up against this island and just in case popped his smoke, because he only has to stay unhit for a few more seconds and he will flip the central cap at Bravo, which isn't enough for him to win, but it's at least bought the team some time. And he's got the 14-inch armor piercing loaded, ready for the carrier. And remember, this is short fuse armor piercing, which means unlike regular battleship caliber armor piercing, which hits carriers and just magically overpenetrates, these ones mostly don't. It's only mostly don't, of course, because it's still a carrier and they still have bullshit armor. But if at first you don't succeed, try again. And that was enough to get him the Confederate Award, by the way. And it looks like an overpenetration from the Wisconsin was enough to shave off the few remaining hit points that the carrier had. And for the first time in this game, I mean, they're still 400 points behind, but they're now actually ahead on kills. Although let's not start baking any celebration cakes just yet, because the enemy team do still have a Shimakaze, and 50% of the remaining ships on Redeemer's team are torpedo magnets, battleships. Oh, and the enemy Montana just erased Redeemer's team's own aircraft carrier. And based on his last reported position, over there to the east of Cap Circle Charlie, which the Christopher Columbus and the Wisconsin have abandoned trying to take without being reset, I'm fairly sure that Shimakaze is currently stalking one or both of those two battleships. Now, Redeemer's done a pretty good job this battle of maintaining his health pool. It's more or less intact. And with the Montana on the other side of the island to the right and out of line of sight, he's spotted an opportunity to perhaps sneak up on... Where the hell did the Harlem go? He was on the other side of this island. Come on, you sneaky swamp German. Is he coming around behind you? He is, isn't he? Well, maybe he isn't. Anyway, you're kind of committed now. He has to keep going this way or he's going to run into the Montana coming around the other side. Oh, good news. Christopher Columbus just sank the Shimakaze. Hang on. Why are your anti-aircraft guns firing? Is that a Harlem airstrike? Not that that's terribly important right now, because the Montana has just sunk the Wisconsin, so the kills are once again even if the scores are anything but. The enemy team are 500 points ahead, 150 away from winning, and there's the Harlem. It's got the armor piercing loaded, but it's just 14-inch armor piercing and the Harlem is angled. And here comes the airstrike. What we really need right now is for that Harlem to maybe... yeah, that's it. Broadside, please. Dankeschön, it's not enough. Shots there from the Christopher Columbus trying to help Redeemer out and finish him. But the Harlem gets away and, well, Redeemer is burning. And of course, unlike other cruisers, fires on the defence last a full 60 seconds. But, well, it is just a fire. You can heal back all of the fire damage. More worryingly, it's going to extend your visibility range, although, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure the Harlem knows more or less exactly where you are. Here's the thing, though. Is the Harlem going to do anything about it? Because the Christopher Columbus has actually now taken the cap at Charlie. And with Redeemer here in the cap at Alpha, the enemy team no longer have points coming in from control of cap circles, so somebody really does need to make sure that Redeemer gets reset here. Or sunk. I mean, sunk would be preferable for the enemy team, obviously, but it's understandable why the Harlem doesn't want to do it, because he's probably a one-shot kill, and this is a cruiser on with 14-inch guns, so instead, he leaves it up to the trusty airstrike, as Redeemer desperately tries to avoid sailing out of the cap circle, so he is actually able to flip it. The airstrike hits, resets, and then, presumably, because he was distracted by the smell of burning crayons, Redeemer had completely forgotten about the Montana. And yeah, that is definitely going to leave a mark. But it didn't kill him. The same cannot be said for his return salvo of 14-inch armor piercing, which sinks the Montana, earning him the high caliber, and his 6th kill. And that just leaves the Harlem. Now, if the Harlem comes around the corner of this island, He's caught you broadside on, and if he has the armor piercing loaded, this could be very, very bad, because you have the armor piercing loaded and he's giving you broadside, but no, he's firing high explosive. Which you're probably going to survive, and you do, although by some miracle the Harlem also survived your 14-inch AP return salvo. Now who's going to reload faster? Well, they both get the shots out at more or less the same time. And, well, even if the Harlem had killed you, you sank him, so it wouldn't have mattered. The Christopher Columbus would have still been alive, the last ship on the enemy team was dead. Either way, that was always going to be a win. In the last minute or so, it was by no means always going to be a win. For the first 18 minutes of the battle, when your team were getting their asses kicked 7 different ways to Sunday. But with 20 seconds to go, Redeemer not only survived, he got the final kill, his 7th of the match, earning himself 1.6 million credits with that 2,600 base experience battle. Redeemer, 1.6 million credits. Imagine all the crayons you could buy with that. You'd never go hungry again. That's it. The next time I meet a US Marine, I'm a dead man. Totally worth it. And on that bombshell, congratulations, Redeemer. Great battle. I hope you all enjoyed it. And as always, take care. And I'll catch you next time.